Welcome back, hockey fans. Chris Durrell here with patreon.com/Jagerbombs. A few weeks into the season here, but what I wanted to do was kind of go over the cheat sheet, some things that I specifically look at on a day-to-day basis for cash games versus GPPs, and just like a basic overview of everything that is on the sheet, what some of the stats mean. If you have any questions following this, please join me in our Discord chat, and I can definitely help you out there. You can also grab a subscription by going over to patreon.com/Jagerbombs. And for $10 a month, you get access to our DFS NHL cheat sheet, our coaches, myself, and Ryan Cookett. We have plays, ranks up daily. We have discussion in chat, NHL only channels. I will show you that here as well. So we do have a news channel. We're feeding in Twitter from Left Wing Lock and Daily Faceoffs. So you're going to get updated goalie as well as morning skate information, line combination updates, all that sort of stuff. All that comes on the cheat sheet as well. We're going to go over that here in a second, as well as our NHL chat. Our sheet is shared. This is where our discussions go on. So for $10 a month, you get access to all of that. For $20 a month, if you're playing multiple sports, we do cover 10 sports are live right now, something like that. So for $20 a month, you can now have access to all the sports and up to 4 coaches in chat. Moving on to the NHL cheat sheet. As you can see here, the main page, this is your team matchup page. You're going to see this every day. This is where I start my process every day when loading the cheat sheet, as well as my own personal research. So tonight we've got a fairly big slate, so this is perfect for doing the tutorial video here. So a few things that I'm looking at right away. We've got the odds. So we've got home team on the bottom. When you're looking at each of these matchups, they are in green. Away team is in blue. We've got the odds here, the over-under according to Vegas. Projected goals based off of those odds and the over-under for that game. So you can see that here. And then we jump into overall offense, defense. So first of all, I'm looking for big favorites, obviously teams that are projected to score a lot of goals. But more importantly, when kind of really narrowing down for our offenses, our specific teams, what I'm looking to do on a slate like this is probably narrow it down for cash games at least to 3 or 4 teams, and then work with 2 to 3 player stacks from those teams, and with those stacks having correlation between those players. So I like to look at the offense. First of all, obviously we want good offenses versus bad defenses. Philly and Arizona is one matchup that stands out for sure. Philly is the 6th ranked offense through, I believe they've played 7 games, something like that, 7-8 games for most teams, while Arizona ranks dead last in defense. That carries over. We've got Philadelphia here. We got home and road splits. This is overall offensive performance and opponent defensive performance, and then we split that into home and road splits. So Philly is number 3 offense at home, Arizona 25th on the road. If we're looking at Arizona's offense, they're 31st offense on the road, while Philly is the 22nd ranked defense on the road as well. But we're not looking, or at home, sorry. But we're not really looking at Arizona tonight. We really like what Philly has to offer. Now, that doesn't really pan out. You know, when we're looking at overall scoring chances, they're both right down in the bottom 3 of the league in terms of scoring chances. Philly gives up a lot of scoring chances. This is more the stats that I get into when I'm looking at GPPs. But first of all, I'm looking at offenses that are going to score a lot. Top offenses versus bad defenses. Philly fits into that. A few more that fit into that narrative tonight. Detroit versus Montreal. Detroit is a top 10 offense. A little bit surprising, but they are there. Top 10 offense versus the 29th ranked defense of Montreal. So that's maybe a plus matchup that we can target tonight. New Jersey versus Anaheim. 13th ranked offense versus 27th ranked defense. So those are a few areas that we can look at. You know, this is just cash games. This is when I'm building my core for cash games. These are the teams that I'm going to be focusing on the most. So then if you're looking for some possibly GPP upside, I start digging into the scoring chances a little bit more. Obviously, we want teams that have a lot of scoring chances, team versus teams that give up a lot of scoring chances. And then a little bit more definitely GPP is the high danger scoring chances. And those are classified a little bit more as, if you think of, and I don't have a picture up of the rink here, but between the dots and inside the top of the circle. So it's like a little box in front of the net type thing, or in front of the goalie's crease. That would be your high danger area. So obviously we want teams that get a lot of high danger scoring chances up there for GPPs versus teams that maybe give up a lot. Now, what stands out there is Toronto versus Vegas. Toronto so far through 7 to 10 games for all the teams. Number 1 in scoring chances overall, while Vegas has given up. They rank dead last in scoring chances given up per game. So that may be a good GPP matchup to exploit. That game's got a 6 over-under, so maybe it's not as sneaky as one thinks. Vegas's defense has not been that great. They're ranked 24th so far. But being that they've been traditionally, since they've come in the league, had a very strong defense, we may see people overlook that. So that may be a spot to overlook. I wouldn't overlook it too much just simply because of that scoring chances that we just looked at. That carries over into the high danger area as well, as Toronto's ranked 4th in high danger scoring chances, and Vegas is 31st in high danger scoring chances against. Now, something that else stands out here is that Toronto's power play, as well as Vegas, they've both been pretty trashy so far. But being that they're both really high up there in scoring chances and high danger scoring chances, I think that's something that we're going to see. Possibly see some positive regression from both of these teams in terms of their power play ranks. Whether it be tonight or not, I'm not sure. A little bit more of a GPP spot. So that's kind of what I'm looking for initially on the team matchup page. And then always when I'm constructing my cash game lineups, I start with goaltender. So what you're going to see here on this page now, I've got a lot better updates this year in terms of probable and confirmed goalies. I've got a feed that feeds in there, so that's going to be happening automatically. If you see a blank in here somewhere, I just need to come down and sort it. No big deal. But these are the goalies as of now, sorted by DraftKings price. So you can see Ryan has his top 2 goalies up here already, Carter Hart and Cam Talbot. Talbot's had a great start to the season. He's got 5 wins so far. You know, save percentages we're not seeing like we have in the past. Markstrom and Shesterkin have been incredible, 947 and 957. So this may be a night we can get some value out of our goaltenders for cash games. But the first place I'm looking are these minus 230 and minus 225 favorites in Hart and Talbot versus Arizona and Ottawa. The opponent's projected goals scored, which I've added here this year, are both under 2. So that's really good right off the start. They both haven't been terrific in terms of their overall save percentage. What I like about Hart is Philly's defense has given up a lot of shots, so he's facing almost 33 shots per game. Now, the other dangerous part of that for Hart, which adds a little bit of risk here, is the fact that he is facing over 9 high danger scoring chances per 60. So that can lead to some goals, but that also leads to a lot of shots, which can be our upside. Also positive that he has an 87% high danger save percentage, which is kind of the tops in that top tier. Now, I talked about going down here. What I really like with these value goalies, first of all, Markstrom's facing Nashville, minus 155 favorite here. He's looked very good to start the season, 133 goals against, 957 save percentage. So he's been excellent. So I don't mind going that route either. He's facing over 30 shots per 60. Same with Shesterkin for the Rangers. They are a minus 135 favorite over Vancouver tonight. He's got 5 wins on the season, almost a 950 save percentage and a 87. So what's good about Markstrom here? He's not facing a lot of high danger scoring chances, and when he does face those high danger scoring chances, he has an excellent save percentage in that high danger area. Absolutely love it. And for Shesterkin, I almost like Shesterkin a little bit more. He's kind of an up-and-coming elite goalie. I don't want to really classify him as elite yet. Sorry, Ranger fans, but he's definitely on his way to that, the 947 save percentage. But what I like here is that the Rangers so far are 5th-ranked defense versus Vancouver, who's a 28th ranked offense. So that's a huge gap there. Shesterkin for cash games, for that savings that we get $700 savings on DraftKings, is probably going to be my top goalie tonight. For cash games, probably my top goalie overall. It just gives us so much room to go and target some of these offenses that are in great spots. So that is a little bit of a look at the goalie tab here. So we'll move over to the all skaters tab. This is just everyone grouped together. I'm going to kind of bypass this and just get into the individual position tabs here. So I changed a little bit of how it looks this year. So obviously we've got our back-to-back, so you can see which players are playing on back-to-back nights. We've got the line combination. Nothing changes there. I've got that color-coded so that anyone playing on the top line or even the second line, there's going to be in green versus third line is kind of like an orangey color. Depends if you're looking on your phone, because I know these colors change. And fourth line is going to be red, because we don't really want to target players in the fourth line. Generally, I'm targeting players on the top 2 lines on those teams that I choose. With that, I'm also trying to make sure that almost all of my players, outside of maybe some of the min-price punt plays that we use, that they're all on the power play. So I've changed that a little bit this year to look a little bit different, so it's not as confusing. So it shows PP1 and PP2 for all the players to the right of the actual even strength line. So we have even strength line information or designation and power play line designation to help us out in our research as well. So for centers, we have this data. Same thing, 21 stats updated now. So goals, assists, points, power play points, plus minus. Time on ice per game is big. We want players that are out on the ice lots, getting lots of shifts. Generally, if they're on the first and second line and playing on the power play, they're going to be in that 18 to 20-plus minute range. But if you're deciding between 2 players and 1 player's averaging 3 minutes more per game, it's a lot higher floor. I'm more inclined to go that way. If you're close on every other decision with those 2 players, I'm more inclined to go with the guy that's going to be out there probably 2 or 3 more shifts more per game. We've got power play time on ice. This is another big one in terms of looking at the floor of a player for cash games is combined shots and blocks per game. I have that for centers, but not wingers, just simply because centers generally will block a lot more shots than wingers. So that's something I'm looking at. I mean, it's not really, blocks aren't really a big stat that I'm looking at from my forwards anyway. But for centers, it is a little bit of a bonus, because you get some of these players that do average, 0.8 to 1.2 blocks per game, which can be, put you a little bit over the edge if you're deciding between 2 players, and 1 player can kind of give you that 0.3 or 0.6 extra points in a night when these cash games get really close, when there's a lot of the chalk plays that are coming into play in these cash games. So moving over, we've got the advanced. So how I compare this is we've got our shots per 60. And I base everything off of 60 minutes, just like NBA, kind of you base everything off per 100 possessions. It puts every player on the same level when you're looking at statistics, rather than trying to figure out, okay, these players are averaging the same amount of shots per game, but 1 player skates more, more minutes. So this way it just puts everyone on the same plane. That's why the advanced stats come in as per 60 rates, if you're wondering why. So we have shots per 60. Whoops. And then how I like to back up that shots is just simply, I compare it somewhat to baseball, looking at ERA and XFIP, or looking at maybe average and WOBA. So we have our shots per 60, and then we have our Corsi 4 per 60, which, if you're new to hockey advanced stats, Corsi 4 just means, Corsi is just a word that came up with it. It was the guy that created the stat. It's just shot attempts. So while shots are simply shots that are on net, on the goalie, or in the net, Corsi or shot attempts are shots that are on net, shots that miss the net, and shots that are blocked. So it counts all the shot volume from an individual player or team in the offensive zone. So it's not just looking at the ones that hit the net. So I like to back that up. So a guy that is, for instance, Austin Matthews, averaging 12 shots per 60, which is absolutely elite shot volume, he backs that up with a 25 Corsi per 4. Corsi 4 per 60, shot attempts per 60. So he's actually taking, per 60 minutes, 25 shot attempts, 12 of them are landing on net. That's, a little less than a 50% rate, but I bet you your average, and I don't have this data with me at the moment, but that data tends to change. Like 50% rate for someone that's shooting that much is incredible. And then we've got scoring chances per 60, high danger scoring chances. So kind of the same thing we looked at on the team level, but this is now on the individual level. So Austin Matthews gets a ton of scoring chances. Obviously, takes a ton of shots. And then I like to look at for GPPs, I guess for cash games, first of all, shot volume is king for me. Obviously, we're going to need points, especially on these big slates. But first of all, I look at the shot volume, and then I start digging into the scoring chances. And like I said, obviously he gets a lot of scoring chances with the amount of shots that he takes. But then for GPPs, I like to look at the high danger scoring chances, the guys that are going to be in front of the net, the guys that are getting their scoring chances closer to the goal and closer to the crease, which kind of ups their percentages and their chances of getting you goals, assists, points and fantasy points. And then we've got blocks per 60. That is there for centers, wingers, and defense. Way more relevant when I'm looking at my defense. But again, like I said, centers over wingers give you more opportunity for those blocks, play a lot more of a defensive game. So players like Logan Couture is averaging 3.3 blocks per 60. You got a lot of these players that are between 2 and 3. But generally, again, I only look at that for defense. So then over on the far right, we've got team ranks. So obviously, Austin Matthews, Toronto ranks 27th on offense. Vegas ranks 24th on defense. Just comparing that back over here so that all correlates where that all pulls from. The all skaters, centers, wingers, and defense tabs do pull from the matchups tab, which pull from my back-end database for stats. So we've got the team ranks over here. We've got the differential. We've got Toronto's power play versus Vegas's penalty kill, and that differential as well. So I'm always looking for green to stand out to me, and that's why I color code everything. Green, yellow, red. Yellow's kind of neutral. Yellow, orange is neutral. Green means very good no matter what stat you're looking at, and red just kind of means bad, as in bad matchup. Just kind of indicates, without digging into the numbers, good matchup, bad matchup. And that's the same across all of my cheat sheets. So winger tab, again, is going to be the same thing. Same with defense. I see I got some color coding for the implied goals I need to work on. I will update for that for the future. But what I talked about with defense is shot blocks. So the big thing I look at for defense, I generally like to go with value. So I'm generally scrolling down into this, especially for DraftKings, and I want one in that 2-3K range and maybe one in that 4 to 5K range. Not very often I'm going to be paying up for a D-man in cash games unless he's just absolutely elite, on fire. But generally we can get some pretty darn good value and spend up for our forwards who are, giving us more chance at getting points, power play points, that sort of production out of them. So I'm looking for value. So when I'm looking for value out of defense, the biggest thing I'm looking at, number one, is ice time. So I'm looking at that time on ice per game, combined with, second most important thing, 1A, 1B in terms of importance, is the combined shots blocks. I want a defenseman that gets lots of shots and blocks. I don't care if it's all shots and no blocks, all blocks and no shots, or a combination. Actually, I would lean towards more to a guy that has more shot volume. That's obviously going to give him more upside in terms of scoring goals or just generally getting assists or probably even being out there on the power play. So, but generally I'm looking at all of it together. And then again, with the advanced stats, with the shots per 60, shot attempts per 60, scoring chances, and then blocks. So if you're looking at just blocks, use this column. It's going to kind of separate you the guys that make more blocks than others. But if you're looking at a combination of the shots and blocks, this is what I'm looking at. So as you can tell here, we see some elite guys stand out. We've got Matt Dumba, Peter Angelo, Brent Burns, and Dougie Hamilton are the 4 guys on this slate that average over 5 combined shots blocks. But I think personally, anything over 3.5 is something that I'm happy with, especially when we start getting down here into the value range. And we will go down. Let's start at the sub 5K range and just start going down. Esa Lindell doesn't play on the power play at the moment. He's not listed on Dallas's power play, but he is on the second unit. He's getting over 22 minutes per game, averaging 5.4 combined shots blocks. Klingberg right below him for Dallas. Right around the same combined shots blocks. Well, 4.5, so actually almost 1 less per game right now. But what he does give you is that power play time on ice. He's getting out there a lot more on the power play, but only averaging 20 minutes. So both of them are fine for Dallas. I think that's a good spot for either of them. High floor. If you want GPP upside, it would be Klingberg for me, just simply because of that power play time. Scrolling down a little more, a little bit smaller sample size. Going to have to check on those line combinations. Doesn't look like they're going to be in the lineup today, but Jordy Ben definitely stands out at 5. I like to look at the sample size. So that's one game. So keep that in mind when you're looking at all these stats. Is sample size is key, especially early in the season. So I like to look at that games played. So someone else that stands out down here that does have a good sample size. Looking at things, we've got. Yeah, I could go with Rasmus Ristolainen, line 2, power play 2, just about 20 minutes per game, 1.4 minutes on the power play per game, 3.4 combined shots blocks. Not too bad there as well, but that's definitely something I'm looking at. Let's go down and see if there's anything in terms of punt plays. Got Hannafin, definitely stands out for Calgary. He's on the top pairing, power play 2, He's got a +/-9. Very good defensive player. He's not going to give you a ton of upside, although he is on the power play, which is positive. But I've been saying this for a couple of years now. He's been on the power play. It just doesn't give you a lot of points production, but it's nice to have that upside for someone that's only 3,100, 3,500 on FanDuel. And he gives you 22 minutes per game, only 2.6 shots blocks. But now this is one thing I like to look at: 4.7 shots per 60. I think we can maybe even see some more regression because of that. He's got 12 shot attempts per 60 as well. So not a lot of blocks there. Someone that does give you a lot of blocks. We talk about him as he's like, since I started working with Ryan about 6 years ago with DFS hockey, David Savard has like always been on our punt defenseman for cash game list. He does not give you upside pretty much whatsoever. No power play time, but he does give you penalty kill time, even strength time, 19.5 minutes per game, and it's his blocks. 5.8 blocks per 60. Braden McNabb right above him for Vegas, kind of in that same boat. He's been blocking a ton of shots this year. Without really any shots at all, he's averaging over a combined 3.1 shots blocks per game, and that's because he's 9.1 blocks per 60, and that's over an 8-game span. He's played every game so far for Vegas, so I do like that as a value play down there as well. For our members, patreon.com/Jagerbombs. Ryan has his top targets up here every day for goalie, center, wing, defense, as well as his top stacks. Oops, I didn't want to hide that. Oh, well. We've also got our depth chart. So a little bit different here this year. You can check it out team by team on this page if you want. This is updated every day. Every team is updated every night, and then every team that is playing that day also gets updated about 3 p.m. Eastern after all the morning skate information comes in. All right, I think I've gone over a little bit of everything, a little bit of cash game strategy, a little bit of GPP strategy, and a little bit of overview of the stats that I use in my models and in my research each and every day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in chat.